everybody. This is Trish with Ride to Independence, and I have Charlotte Bennett Schoen with me. Hello, Charlotte.
Hey there, Trish.
Welcome to Ride to Independence.
This is gonna be fun.
Okay. Charlotte, how old are you?
I am actually 82 years old, which is shocking.
Yes, very shocking, and that's wonderful. You look fantastic.
I thank
And
you.
Charlotte, it's my honor to have you on because of everything that you've done. You have quite a resume and a
That's 'cause
bio.
I lived for a long time. Yeah.
Yes. And I really want to, speak about what is going on in the world globally, of course. But one of my first questions that I want to ask you is what influenced you in your life that committed you to public service? Any key events?
I think there's 2 key events. One is I grew up during Vietnam, where everyone was involved, took a position, and it was clear what was right or wrong, and television at the time gave body counts every night,
Oh, wow.
uh, teaching at the time. So I know that that was a big influence. I also think attention to the world condition is a Jewish thing. I just think it is.
Mhm. Mhm. I understand that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. So since we're talking about events and what's going on in the world, what global issues of injustice have you seen that mirror what's happening here locally in America? I mean, we're just embedded in all kinds of drama right now.
So I live in a wonderful one of the myriad New Jersey small towns that I live in a long time. I see racism being addressed more, yay Obama. Um, I see anti-Semitism that I never grew up or saw before. I am horrified at what's happening to immigrants
Yeah.
collectively.
Mhm.
And when I do trainings and things, I encourage every woman, including you, Trish, run for office. It's no good with what's been happening now, and women wait to be asked. And you shouldn't wait to be asked because the men never wait to be asked. So even if I'm in a rural someplace,
That's true.
translate for me. Right.
Go ahead.
Uh, I'm a very optimistic person, always have been. But now that I have grown children and they have children, and you look and you say, WTF, what the
Yeah.
world is being given.
Yeah, and I'll say that for you. Yeah, what the fuck is happening here in the world,
Mhm.
especially with the current events? Absolutely, I agree with you. So tell me about your peace project that you did in Burma that you're most proud of.
So by the time I got to Burma, I had already worked in India and Thailand. And in that capacity, when you work for an NGO, you do what they ask you to do. So in India was my first, and the first and second was an assignment. Burma, I took myself. In Burma, I had already been doing peace building workshops through the Rotary. And when I went to Burma, they had to write, I was going to teach English to businessmen because even though democracy had come there, they were still very cautious. Little did I know, and I went back again because you're treated fabulous if you go and work and you do their work schedule. You live modestly. If you're smart, you live modestly.
Right.
Um, and I said I'd be back, and then COVID came, and then the Flunta came back. And as we're speaking, all the people that I worked with are elsewhere.
Hmm.
They're in Norway, they're in Singapore. The director, Mio Win, had been in Oklahoma for 2 years, and now he's in Binghamton, New York, where I have to take a ride. The
Interesting.
peace building workshops, I have a background in education. I have a master's degree in education. So it wasn't hard to do the work part.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then the people to come in and we ran these week long. Um, I loved one day at the workshop, it was 5 days a week, and I did 2 things that you'll like. One, in the workshop, I modeled it the religions based on the United Nations list, and there was actually an abbot sitting there in my class because Buddhism was huge, huge. I think Burma is 94% Buddhist,
Mhm.
which then makes you wonder how that majority went out to murder Rohingya, but we know that answer too.
Yeah, it's fascinating the way you volunteer and commit yourself to global justice and volunteering all over the world. How does local activism connect to global change, though?
Do you know the expression, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem?
I yes, I've heard
So you
that.
and you have to be intentional. If you really think ethically, morally, something is right or wrong,
Right,
you step up.
right.
Um,
Speak out.
Professionally, I took my master's degree and I taught in public school because I went to public school. My
Yeah.
girls went to public school. And I remember those so long ago, I had a huge fight with my husband at the time because where I live, there's a 100-year-old private school. And the people who had introduced us to this town, their children had gone to that school.
Mhm.
But you make a decision to stand up for what you believe in. That's the first part, being intentional.
Okay, right.
And locally, there's a chance that you get. I'm not in an insular town, and I'm not sure where you live, Trish. Hoboken.
Mhm.
I don't know what Hoboken is like. New Jersey has, my county has 40 some, I think New Jersey has 478 towns. Some are teeny tiny, some are very insular. At least I live in a town that has diversity, different
Yes.
people.
Englewood's very diverse, absolutely.
Right. But because demographics change,
Mhm,
because the world changes,
mhm.
and it's the numbers have shifted from the African American population to the Latino population to the Jewish population to the Asian population that's there. There are people that are hugely disgruntled because of the actual demographic change and the development that has helped the demographic change.
People, for some reason, do not want change. We thought change was coming when Obama was elected, and we thought, finally, change is here, it's happening, and it's going to work for America. Well, it did not work
I
because
disagree with you. I think of it as
okay.
as a process. You and I lived long enough to see change.
Mhm,
When the colonists came here, they stole the land from the Native Americans, and then they institutionalized slavery. I know there were black slaveholders, and I know it was a complicated issue, but the country institutionalized for hundreds of years of slavery. On Juneteenth, I'm working on this project with Englewood House, which is a massive, ridiculous, that is volunteer, should be a paid staff of 100. I linked, the neighbors needed to know each other. This is a project where we moved the house around the corner from a historical society, sued the city and everybody in order to get permission to stop the bulldozers. And June was 2 years ago. And I said to my colleagues, you have to have something. And honestly, I feel like I got some pushback. No, it has to look better. We have to do more work. We have to raise more money. So I made a little tiny 2-hour event. Come have a cookie, it was Earth Day week, passionate about Earth Day. And this was just a couple weeks ago. And I didn't purposely did not do anything social media. I did text messages to all the people who saw the house move, which was stunning, like a once in a lifetime. And I did an email list that a friend had. And I did it twice. The first was linked to Earth Day because saving a house from going into the dumpster is adaptive reuse. And people were happy. Neighbors met neighbors who didn't even know each other. And the second time I did it was just very recently, early June, and I linked it to Juneteenth because this month is Juneteenth. And I believe everybody celebrates Juneteenth. End of slavery. The horrible story took 2 years to get to this part of Texas. They didn't tell the people. But just 2 people out of my whole list gave me pushback. Pushback saying, why did I, white woman, have Juneteenth mentioned in terms of the House? But the truth is, I could answer it because Juneteenth is a federal holiday. That's a hoo-ha.
Yeah, I know you say it's a I wanna push back too because I know you say it is a holiday now, but our president didn't even acknowledge it. Didn't
So,
even acknowledge it.
so I started voting at 21. What age did you start voting at?
Well, 18.
Okay, there's progress yourself. There's progress yourself. I live long enough to know he's here and he will go.
Yes,
He's broken a lot that I see already from when he was here last time.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes,
Supreme
he
Court.
has.
So whenever I find the opportunity to do something and be proactive as well as intentional, I will embrace that. If it's within the immigration I do, I know he will be gone. The question is, how much damage will he do?
That's right. How much damage will he have done, and how much will have to be cleaned up after him?
And
But
can we clean it up?
and
For
can
the
we clean it
first
up? Exactly.
for the
What
first time
what's
in
one simple I'm sorry, what did you
my life
say?
first time in my life, I feel worry. Not for me, but
Yeah.
for next gen.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in a dangerous time right now, and I'm very worried too, people are doing what they can just to survive, and it's a very difficult time for us right now. Um, Let me ask you, Charlotte, what's one simple action that regular people can take to support global justice or even here in America? Besides calling their senator, their congressman, I've been putting out the numbers, the phone numbers, the congressional switchboard number for people to call their senator, call your congressman, speak out, because that's important. But what simple action can you give people to do to support global justice?
You go to your computer and instead of I have a cousin, she spends hours reading crapola, posting crapola. Say you're passionate about food equity. I live in a town where I have multiple agencies that help. So maybe you're going to be on the board there. Maybe you're going to do a food drive. Maybe you're going to lobby the ShopRite to do donations. If you're looking for equity in education, you have skill sets. The first
Mhm.
time I went away, it was on assignment and I had to rewrite my own resume as skill sets, which was a fascinating thing because there's things that we know that aren't on our resume.
Right.
But in terms of education, we have different things that we can do. And you offer your schools workshops that you can do. Because everybody thinks they're an expert because they went to school and they think they're an expert on child raising because they were a kid.
Well,
Uh,
yeah. I don't know
it's the,
about that, but, I
it's the
do know that you also volunteer or you work with, domestic violence. You're also involved with that. In your work with
so
domestic
domestic.
violence, how do you Go ahead. What'd you
Okay,
say?
so domestic violence. Um, my husband died many, many years ago. I was 49 at the time, which is young to be a widow.
That is
Oh,
young to lose your husband, yes.
mhm. And I I have a master's degree in education and things. I was being interviewed for some different positions. My next door neighbor worked for this. She was a social worker, worked for this brand new agency. And she hounded me till I went and I met them. And they had a brand new program called court accompaniment that they needed somebody to both administer and recruit people. And it was the difference if someone had a restraining order. And this is the change I saw in my life. You, the volunteer, would go with them into court. So the difference of them being alone or not alone. Because
Right,
for
when they're fighting.
your abuser is in the court
You're
with you. Abuser is in the hallway. The abuser is usually the father of your children. And that's
true.
going on to this day, which gives me great satisfaction. Great. And that it needed my master's degree in education. It wasn't something I had done before. I learned a lot because you can't help but learn.
Right.
Uh, so there was a document that was published, and other places modeled themselves on that. So that was good. And I was there for, I think, 14 years.
So are
Yeah,
is that agency still operating at this time?
absolutely. It's called Alternatives to Domestic Violence, and it's part of the Department of Human Services in the county. And they have a director and a budget and a staff, which is always good.
So anyone who needs any type of, help when they're going into court, is that how you help them?
They have pro bono lawyers that help.
Okay.
They have this court accompaniment program. They have counseling services.
Or the company, yes.
Mhm. And they have counseling services for the men as well.
Okay.
Uh, but they paid me because I wasn't full time. It was like, eh. But because of
Right.
that,
Yeah.
um, and I have lifelong friends from there.
Yeah.
If you don't make friends in 14 years, something's wrong with
Right.
you.
Yeah. Okay.
But the best thing I ever did that was purely volunteer, a friend had volunteered me for. We were at some kind of meeting, and the mayor needed, and this is long, long ago, she wanted a mental health center for our little town of Englewood. And she said people had tried for 20, 30 years, they couldn't have it. Um, Under the law, the diocese, which was in Newark, was the provider. And obviously, Newark is a half hour from Englewood. And it was only 5 towns that were in the catchment area.
Mhm.
So my friend at this meeting volunteered me. But the truth is, it was easy. It was just 5 towns. You went to their council meeting, you pitched what you wanted to do. They were like, "Thank you." Like, Englewood Cliffs is so little. He said, "All we do is dog licenses." So my takeaway was, you can do this and be successful. Because the mayor had said to me, "Don't be worried if you can't do it, you know?" So it was a very positive feedback, and you have to be able to afford to do it as a volunteer. Not everybody can afford to take the time to do it. Every social worker I asked to be on the committee said yes. Every psychiatrist I asked to be on the committee. And we rented, I'll tell you a funny story. We rented the first in a walk up apartment, and then we moved onto the main avenue in office space. Because of Rotary, I
Right.
had to go to that space maybe a month ago. The Rotary was having a gala. They wanted to invite everybody, and we all got 3 names. I call name number 1. They say, "Thank you for the call. Of course, I'll be there." I call caller number 2. They say, "Thank you for the call. Of course, I'll be there and I'll do an ad." I do caller number 3 and I get voicemail. And he's from the mental health center. I wait a couple days. I call again. I leave a message. Um, I get voicemail again. I call the 3rd time and I get voicemail. And I'm truly pissed because call me back,
Right.
yes or no.
Right.
So I'm on the avenue, whatever. I walk into the mental health center, which has been reconfigured. There's a woman at the desk who looks at me and says, "Hello, Charlotte." I go, "Andrea." She's working there 45 years. I have
Wow.
been, I knew it was a long time ago.
Right, right.
but I didn't know it was that long ago.
Yeah.
And I told my daughters, I live here too long. Right. But they said, no, that's a good thing.
Right, right.
And we're taking it as a good thing.
Well, yeah, that's a good thing. Let me ask you on a different topic, because I know you do so much volunteer and globally and locally. Tell me about one of the most powerful moments that you experience when you were working with immigration detainees. Tell us about what you do there.
I'm going to tell you about two of them.
Okay.
All I had to do was join this agency. I wasn't on the board till a few years after I had been part of it. They asked you to visit somebody in the jail. This was pre COVID. And I started at Bergen County Jail because it's near me. But ICE moves people around. So some people, you meet them and maybe they get released or they get moved. I meet this two lovely people in the process. One is named Adafi. No, I'm not supposed to. Yeah, he's running for city council, so that's great. And the other, I'm not going to say his name because he's married. And now I got to visit people. The one whose name I'm not mentioning, Adafi, who's running for council, was on the board with me after he got out after 9 months, and then became president of the board. So that was wonderful. But then I got invited.
Wait a minute. I'm a little confused. Okay, so
I want to tell you
you
two
went
stories.
to visit you went to visit someone who was detained by ICE.
Yes, must have visited in the course of 10 years 100 people, men and women from different places. But I will tell you about the one whose name I'm not going to use. I
Well, tell me
first,
about Adolphe, because you told me that now he's running for something. He's running for office.
he's running for city council in New York City.
And
Okay,
what's his name?
his name is Adafi Opuro. And if you live on the Upper West Side, vote for him. Give him money. He came from
And
Nigeria.
he was detained by ICE?
Let me tell you what every detainee told me. You come here even with documentation.
Right.
And you go up and you say to somebody, I'm here for political asylum. That's the magic word.
Yes.
And ICE swoops in and arrests you and puts you in shackles, hand and feet, and parades you across the
Yeah, I
airport.
know they're doing that now, but when was this?
They I'm It's more than 10 years ago I started doing this.
So they were doing that 10 years ago?
So we've got to figure out who. I don't know about ICE. Who are they under Homeland Security now?
Yes, Homeland Security, yes.
But before a few years ago, there was no Homeland Security. There was just ICE, which stands for Immigration Naturalization.
Well, they've
Some
always had a Homeland Security. I'm just a little confused as to them doing something like that. I know they're doing that now, but were they doing that during the Bush years? Were they doing that during the Obama years, or Biden years?
we have got to find out because all I know there was a reach out from this small organization called First Friends, and they needed people to go and visit. I went for the training.
Okay.
There were many people that went to the training, and all I met was nice people. And when you go into the jails to visit somebody, there's a glass barrier and you use the telephone.
Yes, yes,
And when you leave, you put your hand on the glass.
yes.
So Adafi was not one of the people I visited. After he
Okay.
got released, he joined the board because after 4 years, I was on the board for 6 years till you rotate off the board. And he is running for city council and he got married. Adafi came from Nigeria, where when he was in Nigeria, educated, college graduate, their prime minister got on the airwaves and said, beat the crap out of the gays. And there was a day when he woke up beaten up on the sidewalk and made the decision to come here. So he comes here. ICE throws him in jail for 9 months, 8 months, 9 months. He gets released, grateful. And he gets help by First Friends and then joins the board of First Friends. I got invited to his wedding, to Nicholas, which was fabulous and fancy and glorious. He posts wildly, constantly. So Dafi Oporo, Okporo, lives on the Upper West Side with his husband, Nicholas. And they're fabulous. And the wedding was fancy and fabulous in a church on the Central Park West. And
When
then
was this?
3 years ago, I could check my phone.
Okay, okay.
Because he was on the board, First Friends was having their meetings down in Maplewood. So I would meet him in Fort Lee. He would take something across the bridge, and I'd meet him on the corner, and we'd go to the board meeting. And then after the board meeting, I would take him home because it was nighttime, and you
Right,
would,
right.
well, right.
So
And
tell me, Charlotte, what is First Friends?
First Friends of New York and New Jersey is an NGO. I think it was started by religious people, and it's a small agency with a director and services. I want to say it's 30 years old, but it could be 40 years old.
So
Uh,
First Friends is an organization that's been around for 40 years, 30 years? And what is their position? What do they actually do?
they are to be a friend to the immigrant community.
Okay.
Mm.
So First Friends reach out to immigrants in the community.
They do. They do. They have a hotline. Uh, Sometimes when people get released, and I've done this many times myself, and right now um, I'm getting the text messages. The director will put out a call. So locally, we have the Bergen County Jail. They
Mhm.
used to take people from ICE. It was a cash cow. You got paid for every head that ICE sent to you. And the more they sent to you, the more money you got. Big community action. Get out of this business, get out of the business. And they finally did. Next one close to me is the Hudson Jail. A little bit further, but that's fine. Um, they also had a long history of getting money from ICE. Big community action. No more doing that. They don't. The last one is the private jail in Elizabeth. It's run by Core Civic. They're mean people. They build huge ones all over the country. Some are 5,000 beds. Our president loves them. And they are scary. They are the thing. If you want to put some action, the people from First Friends have, you heard Delaney Hall? That part?
Delaney Hall?
Mhm. So First Friends has been picketing there for the last months to get them to
What is
stop
Delaney Hall?
a part of a factory that was turned into a detention center in
Okay.
Elizabeth, Jersey.
In Elizabeth, okay. So First Friends actually reaches out to people who have been detained.
One of their staff members is allowed to go into the detention center and talk to detainees.
The
And,
First Friends people. That's what they'll
mhm,
do.
and
Okay.
First Friends has pro bono lawyers that are allowed to get in.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
somebody is being released, maybe they're being released in Hudson and they have a cousin up by Niagara.
Okay.
Friends will buy them the bus ticket or the
Okay.
train, but then
Okay.
they need somebody to meet them. When ICE releases you,
Yes.
maybe you know this, they say you're going to be released that afternoon. So it could be 2 o'clock, it could be 3 o'clock, it could be 4 o'clock, it could be 5 o'clock, it could be 6 o'clock. Somebody from First Friends is waiting there on the sidewalk to take them to the bus station or the train station or if they're cousins just 2 towns over, to give them a ride there. It's called
Wow.
transportation. It's an amazing good thing.
This is something that, I've never heard of, and this is a great organization. So if people wanna get involved, could they volunteer for First Friends?
You bet, you bet. When we get off, I can forward you an email, or I can do it right now.
So whatever no, don't send it to me right now. But
Okay.
what you can do, you can send me the information for First Friends. I'll link it to the notes. I'll link it. So if anyone wants to volunteer for First Friends, I think that's a great organization. I had never heard of First Friends. Are they all over are they all over United States or just in New Jersey?
It's just us. They say New York and New Jersey, but they all
Okay.
are actually in Kearney, New York, right next to the Hudson County Jail, very convenient, and they do the transportation ser Let me tell you about this kid. I get a call one day that somebody needs transportation service. 2 years ago, it's a summer day. I go, I wait, I wait, I wait. I know he speaks Spanish. My
Mhm.
Spanish, not good. I took Spanish 1, so 1 is present tense, but I speak French, so I understand some more. And that's how you get some of the assignments. Somebody from Ivory Coast, maybe they need you to speak another language. And you make friends with everybody. They're all waiting for somebody to be released in the waiting room. So this 16-year-old kid comes out. It's summer.
Wow.
He's been kept so long. He's wearing one of those puffy
Wow, yeah.
coats. He's wearing sneakers with no shoelaces in them. He's holding the shoelaces in his hand,
Mhm.
and he's got some papers maybe in his other hand. The sweat's on him. Uh, and a nice person I have made friends with tells him in Spanish who I am. I'm Charlotte. I'm going to take him to the bus. And I say, tell him to take his jacket off.
Yeah.
Been there so long.
Wow.
I remember writing a blog about it.
He was
N-
16 years
He,
old.
he, not even a shopping bag to put his crap in. Give him a paper shopping bag
So
to
you're
put his.
telling me they picked up this teenager. ICE had picked up this teenager. He was in detention, and you don't know
Yeah,
how long he was there.
my life is so busy, I'd have to go back to find it.
Okay, but he was there for a while because he had this puffy jacket on, puffy coat on. He comes out. This is a teenager. This is just shocking to me that they're picking up children. He's a child. So, okay, so you help this teenager. You picked
But
him
wait,
up to give him a ride to take him where?
I will look for the blog that I wrote about. You know the term righteous indignation? I was 100%, because I'm often 100% righteous indignation. I visited a woman
No,
from
let's stick with this young man. Let's stick with this young man.
right,
So you okay, so he came
but
out.
that young man was only in my life for an hour.
I know, but you picked him up. You picked him up
I took him where he
and you
wanted.
were taking him to the bus station to go where?
I might have taken him to a relative's. I
Okay.
truly don't remember.
But at least he had somewhere to go.
Some have somewhere to go, some have nowhere to go,
Oh,
but that's where First Friends helped. I
okay.
did not take somebody home, but I know other volunteers that took somebody home and gave them a place to stay for a while.
Right, right. That's awesome. Well, I want to link the stuff about First Friends. You'll send me the information. I'll link it to my notes.
Mhm.
Charlotte, we ran out of time. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you all your everything you do with your volunteerism, your activism, your global activism is fantastic. Keep rolling on.
It's my pleasure, but remember, you have to be well to do this. So tell
Yes.
everybody, stay well.
Yes.
And
Well, you just told everybody to stay well.
stay well and
Everybody stay well And Charlotte, thank you so much for everything you do. We appreciate you.
And I appreciate you.
Thank
But
you. Have a good evening.
okay, ciao.